Kyuya is a game enthusiast who gave up his job to join a game company for his dream of making games unexpectedly. The company went out of business within a few years. After that, it takes Kyuya a long time to find a new job. He attaches all his attention to this job and puts all his energy into a project. Unfortunately, the project is ultimately rejected by the company and he is fired, which makes him utterly desperate for his life. At this time, he notices a new game, which attracts many people just after its release. The game invites a well-known novelist, a singer, and an artist to work on it, all of whom have the same age as Kyuya, graduated from the Osaka University of Arts, and are called the Platinum Generation. Kyuya remembers that he once had the opportunity to attend the arts college 10 years ago, but he chose a better university for employment, which makes him regret it until now. Kyuya starts to think that if he made a firm goal from the beginning and entered the arts college to learn how to make games, he might have become a successful person with them. Soon, Kyuya falls asleep in his fantasy. When he wakes up, he finds an acceptance letter from the arts college on his desk, and all the things in the room show that he travels to 10 years ago. Kyuya is thrilled that his dream has come true, and is determined to use this opportunity to change his life. He rents a room in a house near the arts college and busily cleans it up all day. With anticipation for the future, he goes to bed early. When Kyuya wakes up again, a cute girl in pajamas lies next to him. He panics and doesn't know what happened at all. At this time, the girl opens her eyes. She tries to get up and introduce herself, but accidentally slips and falls on Kyuya. The sound of the girl falling catches the attention of two other tenants in the house, and they mistake him as a pervert. After Kyuya and the girl's explanation, they figure out what happened. The girl's name is Aki, a tenant who just moved in last night. Aki is an unsuspecting girl who stayed in Kyuya's room for a night yesterday, as she hadn't received her quilt yet. After clarifying the misunderstanding, the other two tenants also introduced themselves. They are Nanako, an outgoing girl, and Tsurayuki, who was good at writing. Coincidentally, all four of them are students in the same major at the Osaka University of Arts. Today is the first day of school, and after getting to know each other, they rush to the school where they meet the head teacher, Misaki. Misaki first introduces to the students that this major is to learn to make games, and each student will choose different roles of making games according to their own preferences during the learning process, including creating game plots, drawings, and so on. The game production industry is highly competitive, with very few students working in this area after graduation. Therefore, they need to find the job that they are best at in their studies, so that they may be able to pursue other professions such as painters and photographers after graduation. The students feel pressure after listening to what Misaki said and put all their energy into their studies. The first student to show her talents is named Aiko. She is proud and has little contact with other students. Kyuya recognizes Aiko as his former boss and friend, who has always recognized only capable people. He decides to find a chance to prove himself before he can become friends with her again. 2 weeks of school life soon pass, and most of the students become familiar with each other. Among Kyuya's classmates, the one who is the most compatible with him is Aki. They often participate in various activities together. One day, Aki falls asleep at a freshman event, and Kyuya gently carries her home. On their way, Aki wakes up and she feels warm on Kyuya's broad back. She realizes that Kyuya is a reliable person. When they return home, Aki goes back to her room, and Kyuya finds Aki leaving her bag in the living room. When he intends to put her bag in her room, he sees her drawing with a computer through the Kyuya, is both surprised and a little excited. This shows that he is now on the same starting line as Aki, and he absolutely has the chance of being as successful as the Platinum Generation. Coincidentally, Misaki gives the students a task, which is an opportunity for Kyuya to show his ability. The task requires students to work in groups of 4 to shoot a short film on the theme of time. Kyuya is determined to do a great job. He forms a team with the 3 persons in the same house, and with him in charge, they begin to plan the shooting of the short film. While thinking about the content of the short film, Kyuya works part-time at a convenience store to her intuition, and Nanako also works here. Nanako is an extrovert girl. When she gets along with Kyuya, she often unintentionally has physical contact with him, which makes Kyuya feel shy. After work, they always take the tram home together. When Kyuya sees the station, he thinks of a novel he saw before traveling back in time, which is about a person's life. depicted against the background of a station. Kyoya decides to imitate the novel, and then tells his partners what he thinks. Both Aki and Nanako think it is a good idea, and only Tsurayuki is silent. Tsurayuki takes out a manuscript from his room and calls Kyoya outside the house alone. The manuscript is a novel he is working on recently, and the content is exactly the same as Kyoya's vision. Tsurayuki never tells anyone about his novel, and he hides the manuscript in a place where others can't find it. So he doesn't suspect Kyoya of plagiarizing his idea, but laments that it is a bizarre coincidence. Kyoya is stunned and realizes that Tsurayuki is the author of the novel, but Kyoya doesn't have time to think about whether he is doing the right thing, and the first thing he has to think about now is finishing the short film. With the active impetus of Kyoya, the filming officially begins. None of the members except Kyoya has shooting experience, and they only rent a camera suitable only for taking pictures, causing the plan to stall. At this time, Kyoya thinks of a way. He uses a technique named stop motion, combining a large number of photographs into a short film, which also has an excellent effect. When all the groups show their short films publicly, the work of Kyoya's group is recognized by everyone, and is voted the best short film. Kyoya, as the leader of the group, receives praise from his classmates. They begin to worship Kyoya, and Nanako starts to have affection for Kyoya, asking him to karaoke alone. Kyoya recognizes Nanako from her singing as a member of the generation, and suggests that Nanako record her singing and post it online. Nanako refuses, and she always feels that she has no ear for music and lacks confidence. She then follows the topic and asks Kyoya to come here with her often to practice singing. Kyoya agrees, but he doesn't know Nanako's true purpose, which is to create a chance to get along with him. Usually when Nanako approaches Kyoya, Aki is also present. One day, the three of them are taken to a club by a senior and participate in a club activity together. Nanako leaves in a hurry after the event because she has to work part-time at a convenience store, leaving Kyoya and Aki alone. Aki takes the opportunity to tell Kyoya that she noticed Kyoya was watching her drawing before, which is actually a secret for Aki since she has always felt that she draws not well enough to tell others. And recently, she even has the idea of giving up painting. Kyoya has always liked Aki's paintings before traveling. He excitedly tells her how perfect Aki's work is and urges her not to give up. Aki is stunned. It is the first time that her work is recognized, and she throws herself into Kyoya's arms excitedly. Since then, Aki has fallen in love with Kyoya. In addition to Aki, Ako also has a crush on Kyoya. Misaki is Ako's older sister, and she finds Ako shy every time she mentions Kyoya, thus knowing her thoughts. In order to match Ako and Kyoya, she arranges for them to lead their teams to shoot together in the next mission. They choose to shoot at the beach, and all of them wear swimsuits. Looking at the cute girls, Kyoya loses his mind. Everyone else is also nervous, leading to some awkward misunderstandings during filming. Ako is so shy that she can't seize the chance to get close to Kyoya even until the end. Luckily, they successfully finish shooting the short film, which has once again voted the best short film. After that, they come to karaoke to celebrate. With the encouragement of Kyoya, Nanako sings in front of others for the first time. Her beautiful singing wins the praise of almost everyone, except Ako, who accuses Nanako of having a high musical talent. She thinks Nanako should have studied music, and her choice of studying this major is stupid. Nanako argues that she doesn't sing well enough, but Ako believes that Nanako is just afraid to compete with students from the music department. Nanako knows that Ako is right, but she doesn't want to admit it, and rushes out of karaoke. In order to settle the dispute, Kyoya talks to Ako alone. He learns that the reason why Ako is so angry is that she is jealous that Nanako has talents that ordinary people don't have, but chooses to waste them. Kyoya couldn't find a reason to refute Ako and doesn't know what to do. When he returns to school, a senior named Keiko finds him. Keiko, a member of the gaming club, hears that Kyoya has created 2 excellent short films and asks him to work on a new game. Kyoya doesn't say yes right away because he still has some concerns about making games. Before he traveled back in time, Kyoya's biggest problem when making the game was that he couldn't afford to hire good singers to make music, and he often had to help bad singers get the right pitch at that time. Now that he is a student, he lacks even more money. Suddenly, Kyoya thinks of Nanako, who will become a singer in the future. He immediately rushes outside Nanako's room and invites her to make a game together. No matter how Kyoya persuades her, Nanako just hides in her room and refuses to come out. She is both throwing tantrums and not having confidence in herself. Kyoya comes up with an idea. After he adjusts her singing in the mix, he plays it to Nanako outside the door, impressed by her own voice. Nanako realizes that as long as she can improve her level, she definitely has the potential to become a singer. Kyoya takes the opportunity to invite her to make the game again. This time, Nanako immediately agrees. Since then, Nanako has been practicing singing in various ways, often asking seniors in the music department to guide her while Kyoya is busy with another matter. He is arranged by his club to organize a school festival. When the festival is coming to an end, he meets Aki and hangs out with her. After walking for a while, Kyoya faints in exhaustion. When he wakes up, he is lying on Aki's lap. Kyoya tries to get up, but is stopped by Aki. She wants to take this opportunity to spend more time alone with him. Looking at Kyoya's face, she suddenly feels the urge to kiss him, just as they are about to kiss. Kyoya receives a phone call informing him that the singer who will perform at the closing show of the celebration can't come. Unfortunately, the celebration is coming to an end soon, and Kyoya simply doesn't have time to invite other singers. It occurs to Kyoya that this accident might be an opportunity to help Nanako gain singing experience. He immediately finds Nanako and persuades her to perform on stage. Nanako isn't sure about singing in front of so many people. Kyoya patiently encourages her, and finally, she agrees. To Nanako's surprise, the performance has an excellent effect. The audience like her singing and cheer for her wildly. Nanako gains confidence in the performance, and as soon as she gets off the stage, she excitedly looks for Kyoya everywhere to express her gratitude. Meanwhile, Kyoya is taking Aki, who is somewhat dizzy, to rest nearby. This time, Aki seizes the opportunity and decisively kisses Kyoya. She mischievously says she just kissed him by accident. Kyoya instantly blushes and doesn't know how to respond. They don't notice that Nanako is standing not far away and sees the kiss. I can't imagine how sad she is. In the following days, Kyoya notices that Nanako behaves strangely, especially when he is with Aki. But he doesn't have time to think about it, because he has promised Keiko to make the game. In order to be able to make a better game, he gathers the 3 partners who live in a house with him to join him. They all think that making games can earn money and agree. After discussion, they decide to make a love game. Tsurayuki will write the game's script, and Keiko will illustrate it. While Nanako is responsible for making the background music as the head of the game, Kyoya is the busiest person that he needs to participate in every part of making the game. Except for Kyoya, no one has experience making games. They often encounter various problems, but Kyoya helps them solve them every time. At this time, something happens that puzzles Kyoya. Nanako never learns to arrange, which leads to slow progress. One day, she suddenly hugs Kyoya, saying she is so tired that she wants to relieve her exhaustion, thinking of Nanako's previous unusual performance. Kyoya feels that something is wrong. While he is thinking about Nanako's thoughts, Aki pesters him. She's curious about some special plots in the love game and asks Kyoya to try it with her. Embarrassed, Kyoya forgets to think about Nanako's thoughts. Kyoya isn't the only one forced to be intimate with the opposite sex. In these days, Tsurayuki's fiancé comes to approach Tsurayuki every day. Both she and Tsurayuki's father hope that Tsurayuki will immediately return to his hometown to inherit the family business. To achieve this goal, she seduces Tsurayuki in various means. Fortunately, Tsurayuki is determined enough that he rejects her several times, stating that his dream is to become a novelist. Eventually, Kyoya persuades Tsurayuki's fiancé to leave. Tsurayuki encounters more than one problem. The plots of the game are very different from the style of the novel. During the process of creating, Tsurayuki often thinks that the plots designed by Kyoya are too vulgar. Every time they argue, it always ends in a compromise for its Tsurayuki, who knows that he can only earn money by making games according to Kyoya's ideas. The same problem also arises in the process of arranging and producing illustrations. Nanako and Aki know Kyoya has so much to worry about, so they've been changing their own style to fit the game in order to lighten Kyoya's burden. Finally, after a long period of hard work by the whole team, they finally finish the game and get paid. Kyoya is thrilled that he has finally fulfilled his dream of making a game of his own. Unfortunately, things aren't going as perfectly as he thought. As soon as the game is finished, Tsurayuki meets with Kyuya alone to say he is about to drop out. He says he has always felt that his writing talent is high enough that he doesn't have to rely on it. It isn't until he was making the game that he found himself relying on Kyuya to solve all the puzzles he encountered. He feels that he has been too conceited to write novels for a living. Now he has recognized the reality and decided to return to his hometown to inherit the family business. Finally, Tsurayuki speaks with emotion about his love of fiction and his pseudonym. After saying all these, Tsurayuki leaves, leaving Kyuya standing in a daze. Kyuya knows from the pseudonym that Tsurayuki is one of the platinum generation. He then falls to his knees sadly, believing that it is his appearance that causes Tsurayuki to give up his dream. At this time, Keiko suddenly appears in front of Kyuya. She smiles weirdly, and then asks him, "What will the future be like if it goes on like this?" Before Tsurayuki could react, he loses consciousness. When he opens his eyes, he sees a little girl calling him dad. Immediately after, Aki appears, calling him her husband. Kyuya quickly turns on his phone, and the time on the phone shows that he has arrived 10 years later. He understands that after a few days of acclimatization, Kyuya gets used to the new life. He now works for a well-known game company and oversees an entire division. Compared to his last life, Kyuya has a happy family and an enviable job. He lives an ideal life, but his friends don't. For example, Ako and Kyuya are in the same company, but she has a much lower position than that of the last time they met. Recently, Ako encounters a problem that the famous artist Ayaka, who she works with, is slow to hand over her work, which makes them unable to continue making the game Ako is responsible for. Kyuya tries to help Ako visit Ayaka, but Ayaka never gets motivated, and Kyuya fails to help Ako in the end. Before he leaves Ayaka's house, he finds a painting drawn by Aki. Ayaka notices that Kyuya is interested in the painting, and she laments that she was once moved by the painting to become an artist. But unfortunately, the author of this painting gave up painting many years ago. Ayaka's words hit Kyuya hard. He suspects that Aki has the same reason as Tsurayuki for giving up painting, which is because of him. When Kyuya returns to the company, he hurriedly searches the internet for news about Nanako and Tsurayuki, wanting to know whether they have given up on their dreams completely just like Aki. Finally, he discovers that Nanako was an internet singer 10 years ago, but has already announced that she would no longer sing, and Tsurayuki did not become a novelist. Kyuya is very sad that he ruined the life of his companions. After he returns home, Aki notices his abnormality. She learns from him that he feels guilty for not letting her continue to paint, smiling and saying that she never regrets it. She is married to her beloved man Kyuya and has a lovely daughter. For her, life is now extremely happy. Aki's words make Kyuya figure out that regretting the past is a waste of time. He decides to do everything he can to live his current life and find an opportunity to make up for his mistakes. Kyuya quickly finds an opportunity. Recently, a game designed by Aiko has had many problems, as the boss repeatedly urges the employees to work overtime to catch up with the schedule. Aiko's subordinates do not rest for a long time, and they become increasingly ineffective at work. To make matters worse, Aki still hasn't handed over her work. Kyuya argues with the boss for Aiko. Eventually, he persuades his boss to give his employees a break, and then visits Aki alone. This time he brings a painting drawn by Aki. Aki is thrilled, and she is moved by Aki's painting, which inspires her to create again. Soon after, Aki successfully hands over her work. The game Aiko is responsible for can be carried on with. Just then, Kyuya learns that Aiko has suddenly left the company for the airport. Worrying that Aiko will leave suddenly like Tsurayuki, he rushes to the airport to find Aiko. Fortunately, Aiko is just so tired that she wants to take a vacation out of town. Kyuya breathes a sigh of relief and can't help but tell Aiko about his guilt for his companions. Aiko gets angry after hearing this, and she blames Kyuya for always having a responsibility to his friends and trying to help them solve. She doesn't think Kyuya has to take responsibility for his friend's life, at least for her. She wishes she can help Kyuya more than to be helped, because she likes him, realizing that she accidentally reveals her feeling for Kyuya. Aiko can only pretend that nothing has happened and go to catch a flight. After that, Kyuya is lost in thought. What Aiko said makes him understand that he shouldn't interfere in his friend's life at will. At this moment, Keiko seems to read his mind and appears in front of him again. She gives Kyuya a chance to go back in time and then asks for his answers. Kyuya answers with a determination that he wants to live with his companions and make amends for his mistakes. Before this, he decides to say goodbye to Aki first. When Kyuya returns home, he finds that Aki has unexpectedly painted a new work. She says that she played a game made by Aiko and is attracted by the illustrations in the game. So she comes up with the idea of drawing again. This new work comforts Kyuya a little, at least in this world. Aki has not completely given up painting. After that, he hugs Aki and daughter tightly and then goes out to find Kako. With Kako's help, Kyuya travels back to the time since Tsurayuki left. He no longer meddles in the life of his companions. Even though Nanako asks him to help solve the problem, he doesn't help her. Knowing that Nanako is capable of handling it alone, he also tries to change his habits, turning to Ako for help when faced with difficult problems. Besides, Kyuya wants to make up for the mistakes he made. Noticing that recently Aki has gradually lost interest in painting, he tries to recommend her a novel way of painting, hoping to regain her passion for it. Next, Kyuya decides to convince Tsurayuki to return to campus. That brings the end of this anime. In this anime, the main character Kyuya accidentally travels back 10 years ago, intending to change his life. However, when he lives a happy life, his companions can only suffer, so he blames everything on himself and is even willing to go back in time again to change their life. In fact, it requires a lot of courage, because making a new choice means not being able to marry Aki and have a happy family, and he may be unable to find a good job. But for the sake of his friends, he is willing to do so. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe our channel for more video like this.